Oh, you know what that jam means. Commercial streams are up. Hello, YouTube and Twitch and Ustream and Twitter.
I believe that's X now.
Yeah, you know, we actually end up with sometimes a couple hundred people watching on Weapon X.
Maybe write in, boost in, let us know if that's you. I'm curious.
So I got a plan. I should probably run by you boys.
Why does that make me nervous?
I know, because you know me. You know me well. You know that.
To be clear, nervous and excited.
Yeah. No, I've earned that. I'll take that. So we're going to scale.
We have
I
to.
think it's just a matter of our scale of going to scale. You know what I mean? So I did the math. Assuming we drive the GTI, which is like 35 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
It's going to be roughly $500 for gas there and back. Plus, we'll probably need to stay in a hotel. And if we caravaned, we'd probably want at least 2 hotels if you boys shared a room and
Sure.
Hadi and I had a room. So 2 hotel rooms on the way there and back, which is about $1,000. And then it's about $1,500 for an Airbnb in scale or around scale that would also give us time to record LUP encoder.
Oh, smart.
And then, so that brings us to about $3,000 in total if we could do a trip where we could do a show. So what I was thinking is we kind of scale it up to if we get enough funding to cover gas, we just bomb down there, we do a day and try to bomb back. If we get enough funding to cover more, we could enough where we could stay down there, then we could bring gear. And if we could bring gear, I think we do a live show, a lit show, specifically a live show on the Jupiter station from scale. We do a regular episode too and record that. And try to do an episode either from somewhere in California or at scale itself, depending. So that's what I'm thinking is we kind of, and I would imagine the other nice thing if we could scale up to the Airbnb is I know Alex would like to come in.
Oh, wonderful.
And then there'd be the 3 of us as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's pretty ambitious though because $3,000 in funding is no joke.
Yeah. And
so
as we just talked about, it's coming up quick.
Yeah, that's 8 million sats or 3,000 in cash. I don't know if it's possible, but we could see how close we could get.
Set the goal and plan around it.
Sounds like you're setting a goal.
It's tricky because we are entering into an even tighter ad market, which really scares me. Yeah. And so we can't really do anything at an expense. In the past, JB would just cover this. But we can't do that anymore.
Right.
So, but also, I want us to be at the first NixCon, right? That's a ground zero event. I want to be there for it. And it's always great when we can as a team, when we can get together.
Yeah.
In a space.
We haven't been to scale for a bit. We've wanted to.
Yeah, it's true.
The last time we planned to go to scale was spring of 2020. I remember because that would have been my first scale.
Yeah.
And of course, things happened.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it. But
so we'll see. I don't know. I'd love to be able to take the gear. I'd love to be able to do a live show from down there and record an episode. You guys know how that's been a goal of mine. But I did the math. It's actually technically $400-ish cheaper to do it all in the RV. Amazing. It's the cost of Airbnb now. The cost of Airbnb and hotels has, even though gas has gone up, making the RV more expensive, Airbnb and hotels have gone up even more. So the RV is cheaper again. It's just overall more expensive.
Yeah.
But then we don't have a space for everybody to stay. So that's not as... So then it doesn't really make as much sense. Plus, I want to take Jupes to Texas Linux Fest in April. And this is mid-March, so they're really close together.
Yeah, it's a lot of Jupes driving.
Yeah, it's a lot of wear and tear. So I think more like a cannonball run in some vehicles to get 35 miles to the gallon, especially as you're going into California where gas is pretty expensive, even by our standards. So we'll try to lay that out today. I think we'll see. I'm not confident we'll get there. which scares me a little bit because I'm not sure how we do half and half. Like, we'll just have to kind of figure out what's attainable based on what the funding is.
Mm-hmm.
And I set up a one-time fiat donation too. Using the Memberful platform lets you do like a one-time set your own donation amount thing,
fun.
which I've never used before. So it doesn't have to be sats. It can be that.
Yeah, some
too.
people have been asking for that for a little bit.
Well, we're going to test
around
it.
Christmas.
We're going to test it. We'll see. See.
Gift memberships too are a thing we should start thinking about.
Yeah, and joining the membership too is a way. You know, if we just saw a tick up in that too, that would help cover costs.
Yeah, Chance says your goal here is only 16 annual memberships.
Wow. So we'll see. I'd love to be able to do this, because the other thing is, like in a booming sponsor market, when you get to something that's like, okay, we don't have budget and we have about a $3,000 cost, I'll go work with the sponsor. You know, maybe they'll pay us somewhere around that'll cover the cost or something like that. But that's not even an option right now. And I don't know if maybe that's fine. Maybe we don't always want to go that direction. I think sometimes maybe we don't want to always have to have a sponsor make it possible too. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to try to set up a pattern, right, for stuff that maybe isn't, even in a good market, isn't super sponsorable, but we still want to go try to do.
Yeah. Some of these things, like, you just want to be able to get to them even if it's not commercially viable for some sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really feel like we've been following something special here on the show with the uptick in Nix recognition, and like so you got Phlox, we got Determinate Systems. There's probably others out there that are building Nix-based products now, and as they're doing that, these companies are participating in the community space too.
Right. More, and I think the more folks that are deploying it and building stuff that gets deployed, and like, I mean, Nix is already used in production environments, but just in all these more sort of common workflows, it seems like that could have a really powerful feedback effect if it just keeps going. More maintained packages, more things configured, easier onboarding, all the things kind of Nix struggles with sometimes right now.
Yeah. So was also a good week for me. It was also a good week, quite a good week.
Oh,
in some ways. And if you guys will indulge me for a moment, because nobody else is going to, like, the wife and kids don't care, right? They don't care about these things. However, every now and then we say I make a lot of predictions through the years on these shows, and usually it's years for them to play out. And it's kind of frustrating because it means I have to go through years of people telling me I'm an idiot until all of a sudden it's an obvious thing. Well, this week's Coda Radio was really tricky, because the whole OpenAI thing was happening over the weekend before we recorded. Sam Altman got fired, and the whole negotiation, joined Microsoft. And then all of a sudden, maybe he's going back. And Monday morning comes around, and we got to record Coder, and we have no idea what direction this is going to go. We had seen Satya Nadella announce that Sam Altman was joining Microsoft, and I wasn't buying it. This was my take. I think it's very probable that Sam, the board, the employees, Satya, everybody's discussing, and I would bet you Satya has given Sam the optionality to go back to OpenAI if they can structure things appropriately, because Microsoft wins either way. And if Sam and Greg stay at Microsoft and Microsoft maintains this $10 billion partnership with OpenAI, they're riding two angry horses at the same time. And if a lot of OpenAI staff leave and go join Microsoft, there's going to be bad blood there. That's a really awkward situation. So in some ways, while Satya has engineered a solution that the market's very happy with, they're only up about 3% right now, but the market's happy instead of a huge bomb. But they would also probably be pretty okay with Sam rolling back to OpenAI if this board goes. And I think that's in negotiation and play right now.
So I don't think Satya can lose, right?
I'm saying I called that. I'm saying I totally called that. That's exactly what happened. Is Sam Altman went back to OpenAI, and so that was a nice little win, because you're doing Coder on Monday, but the episode comes out on Wednesday, and the situation is probably going to be resolved the morning the episode's dropping.
Yeah, talk about timing.
That was tricky. Then here's another good one. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has sued yet another crypto casino exchange.
Oh, yeah.
And classified all of the altcoins that I outlined in Office Hours 9, the episode where we hate crypto too, Solana, Cardano, Polygon, those kinds of things, all of them securities. This is the second lawsuit where the SEC has labeled all of these as securities.
Yeah.
We called that in Office Hours, episode 9. Nice. You'll notice what's not on that list is Bitcoin. You might notice that. Exactly like I said. And then the last little victory lap I'll give myself, and then I'm all done, is the DOJ and the Treasury Department and others announced a massive crackdown on Binance, and they are charging CZ, the owner of it, with about all kinds of different types of fraud. Binance itself has to pay $4 billion, 4-point-something billion in fees, which is exactly what I said would happen to the Bitcoin Dad Pod. I called that. I said, you're not going to see a Bitcoin spot ETF approved until Binance is taken down a peg. The logic was simple. Previous spot ETFs were declined by the SEC for concerns of for concerns around market manipulation. And in separate statements, they said that they were concerned that Binance was manipulating the market. So they weren't going to approve a BlackRock spot ETF around Bitcoin until they cleaned up. So the sheriff came in and they cracked down on Binance. So they're suing multiple exchanges for securities fraud. They've shut down SBF. They've shut down CZ. They've really kind of cracked down on all of it. I mean, it's kind of exactly what I thought would happen, but it's wild to actually see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's still kind of a crazy thing. The other interesting transition, too, is we're seeing a change in language. So what used to be called, an exchange, these are now legacy exchanges.
Oh, what's a non-legacy exchange?
A trusted exchange. That's a trusted exchange.
Like regulator approved?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like ones that follow the rules. Those are trusted exchanges. And the trusted exchanges, this is coming from a former New York Stock Exchange president, the trusted exchanges are the ones that deal in digital assets, not crypto.
Digital assets.
But he says digital
So like
assets.
NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, they will. They'll shitcoin, no doubt about it. They definitely will. But I just thought that was interesting that you're seeing the transition now to trusted exchanges and digital assets.
Now, why do you think that stuff's happening right now?
Here we go. It's all the BlackRock ETF. It's all the ETF from BlackRock for sure.
Yeah, got it.
It's now the adults are coming into the room.
The spot ETF, you know them all. They all trust you and they all know you from your prior life.
This is the former New York Stock Exchange president.
Is it
And this is
something
CNBC.
that's going to happen next year? Is it going to be 2025? What's the deal? What's the problem?
I'm not gonna give you a specific date. I guess I'm a little less optimistic of the immediacy of an approval. In other words, like November or even December. The current chairman and the SEC have said that they believe that pretty much everything in crypto, with the exception of Bitcoin, sometimes Ethereum, and possibly stablecoins, are securities, and that securities, at least in the United States, need to trade on a nationally recognized exchange, and they do not today. And I think these two issues at the moment are interwoven. That doesn't mean they can't be decoupled, but I think there's a view that, hey, if these don't trade on an exchange, how do we know that the underlying prices are trustworthy? The thing about Bitcoin that gives me some optimism is everyone acknowledges Bitcoin is not a security, including the regulators. So possibly the Bitcoin ETF does go ahead more quickly, which would be great for the industry, because money will flood into the industry with the Bitcoin ETF. It's just easy to buy. People believe in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be here. Bitcoin's a great invention. It just is. It is a store of value. I know it's volatile. It is a store of value.
Some people think it's a discovery, not an invention. It was already there. It was always there.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. You've been on Bitcoin.
Of course.
You've been on Bitcoin since the earliest days.
There you go. New York Stock Exchange president.
Yeah.
And CNBC's conservative host talking together. Feeling very bullish.
It's interesting just how this plays out, as the hype cycles go. It takes this kind of time for these kinds of changes to.
I don't understand why they couldn't crack down when everybody was making money. Why did they wait till the market crashes and then they go in and clean up?
Right.
It's got to be some reason.
Yeah. I mean, they must have thought that these were securities from the get-go, right?
Well, like the actions against Binance have been in the works for 3 years. Well, that was like 2 of those years were a bull run. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't know. Like, I'm glad it's getting cleaned up, but I think we could have saved people a lot of scams and hurt in the process.
And I mean, so much confusion too, just in terms of,
reputational harm done too to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just, people not really understanding, like, what are these things? Like, okay, maybe you do want to buy these other, these security coins or whatever, that's your investment.
Yeah. People buy stocks.
What it is.
Yeah. People buy stocks. It's fine.
Totally.
Last thing before we get out of here, before we get out of the pre-show. Technically tomorrow, but it started a couple of days beforehand because we were at Jeff's. This is my Giraffing OS birthday. 1 year on Giraffing OS.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Congrats. We weren't sure you'd last this long, really.
It's been really good except for right before the trip when I had that kind of thing dump on me and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to boot the OS. That shook my confidence in it.
I had something almost like that recently. I was doing updates and the first reboot after the update, or after I noticed, hey, reboot, you got a new update installed. It's like nothing to boot. Came up with the
Same
red
thing
screen.
I had?
Yeah, I was like, hey, there's nothing valid.
There's no OS, yeah.
But I just rebooted and it worked the next time.
Oh, man, mine did not after the first reboot.
Yeah. So I wonder if there's like a particular thing about some of these updates that,
Doesn't it put a little bit of fear into you about depending on this device?
Yeah, but I kind of have that on any phone. I
Yeah.
don't know. They're just like not quite.
They're not.
Even with this, it's not quite my device.
You know why? Is because, like on a Linux desktop, maybe something you're using that was really important, if something went really sideways, there's like a dozen different ways you can get access to that file system and get the data.
Yeah.
As long as it's not like a drive failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. There's all kinds of rescue things I can boot into, USBs. I got Ventoy handy.
There are situations you can resolve that you just cannot resolve on a phone. But good backups and all that. But yeah.
Even though it's still running Linux. I mean,
However, it's been rock solid again since then. And combined with things like Tailscale and Image and Home Assistant, which are all better on Android, very happy. And then you combine that. Actually, Element and Slack and Telegram are kind of better on Android too. They don't.
interesting.
They're not awful. And maybe the apps, in the case of Telegram, might be better. It might be a better app on iOS. But the apps themselves, they don't have to update as much on Android. Like when I launch on Telegram, almost every time I'm waiting for a spinner as it's updating, or on Element, like it doesn't sync in the background ever, so like it's a full sync every time I launch Element on iOS. Whereas on Android, it seems like it does some sort of background updates more.
So it's just quick.
It's quicker. Yeah. I'll spend the battery life for that. But anyways, 1 year, it's still here, still rocking it. And one of the things I've done is I set Home Assistant as my default assistant.
Oh, fun. I want to try that.
Oh.
So yeah, it's so cool. It was listening to us right there. So I can just swipe out of the corner and I launch the Home Assistant, and I can do voice control stuff. But Brand, I believe you just got some new hardware today on my Giraffing OS birthday.
Not quite today. It was a couple days ago, but I decided to get not one, but 2 Pixel 7s. I mean, there were sales and I couldn't help myself.
You got 2, huh?
Are they both for you?
No, I decided to treat my clone, my twin brother, with one.
That's nice.
Because he is running, I think he's running an S7.
Okay.
Which was a hand-me-down from like some business so he bought it used off a business. And he's been using used phones, other people's trade-offs for years and years. And I realized I sort of had been doing the same thing for like 10 plus years. So it was about time we get something, new and stable that we can run ourselves for several years, I'm hoping. So that was the deal. I just had, a number in mind for how much I was willing to spend. And I had a really hard choice because I was very tempted by the Fairphone.
Sure.
The Fairphone 5, which has been doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Well, what pushed you over for the Paizel?
Well, it's been on my mind since the last time I was in Berlin. So what is that, like September or something? I was like, I definitely need a phone because I'm currently using Drew's old Pixel 2 XL. And it was an emergency like backup situation
Jeez,
that I had to get on before my last European trip. It was a
Seems
bad
like
situation.
traveling international with the Pixel 7 is a way better situation than the PiZel 2.
Well, I think that's an easy assumption to make for sure.
And you've proved it. You proved you can use an old phone for a while.
Yeah.
No one will question that.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It's maybe not the best idea from a security standpoint. But the Fairphone is really attractive for all of the reasons of the Fairphone, the modularity and the repairability. And so I was thinking, if I'm going to buy a brand new phone, which is the first time I do that in like 10 years, I would like to keep it for a while, and the Fairphone's repairability is really attractive. If you break a screen or even if they come out with upgraded parts and stuff like that, and they have a pretty good track record as well for doing that kind of stuff. So that was super attractive to me. And
what
a
pushed
few
you over
colleagues.
What pushed you over the road?
Well, actually, listener Tomash and I have been exploring this for quite a while, this topic.
Oh, fun.
Every couple of weeks, it's like, oh, yeah, you should get the Fairphone. No, you should get the Pixel, I think. Probably the Fairphone. But it came down to just doing a little bit of research about the security, what would you call it? What you're giving up around security with getting the Fairphone versus getting the Pixel 7 with Giraffine on it. And there have been some like sort of embarrassing security implementations of the Fairphone software, like using publicly available keys to sign their software and stuff like that. So
and if you get the Fairphone, are you sort of stuck on whatever their, I assume, Android spin is?
Yeah, they support Android and the EOS as well.
Oh, okay.
I think you can get some others on there, but they're not like sort of officially supported. Certainly not the Giraffe. So
Yeah, that's very limiting. You're kind of stuck with the Pixel devices if you want Giraffine OS.
yeah, so that's really what it came down to, was just thinking, oh yeah, I'm traveling a lot and people know me, etc. So security is probably a thing I should think about, and using a Pixel 2 that's ancient and way outdated is not a good idea. So
Welcome.
upgrades.
We're all Pixel 7 brothers now.
No,
That's cool.
It's kind of fun.
It's
we'll
your
just have to make
fault.
sure not to mix them up when we go to events.
I'll tell you now, I know you're not going to do this, but for people listening, I'll tell you what's, I think, been particularly great with my PiZel 7 is I've gotten it with cases that put the Apple MagSafe magnet in the back, because there's a bunch of good accessory makers for like car mounts, and
You got to give us a link to that because I need that in my life.
it's so great. And then I also have these magnetic mount stickers. They're just little pucks. I have one on the fridge. I have one in the shower.
Excellent.
I have one in the bathroom. And what I do is I walk into the room and I just put my phone on that magnetic little mount using the case that has the MagSafe magnet in it. And I can just have a hands-free phone that's playing whatever I'm playing. So it's like if I'm making a sandwich, I'll just put it on the fridge, and I've got, or since it's magnetic, you can also put it on any metal surface like the microwave.
that's
And in the shower, I have it up high so it doesn't get wet. But I can have I can like listen to a podcast or music or whatever, and I just, when I get in the shower, put it up on the magnetic mount. It's up out of the way. It's really nice. So that's
a nice anti-gravity solution, actually. I like that.
And then I have a really good car mount that I just, and because the Pixel also supports wireless charging, when I put it on my wireless car mount,
that's
it
great.
charges.
Yeah, no fuss with cables that could get in your way or tripped up.
Right. I end up having cables if I like to do music and stuff. I prefer it that way. But if I just want to charge, I just put it on the thing and it just charges. I like it.
Well, I decided to get a D-brand case.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is one of those great Canadian companies.
Yeah.
Got to support the locals. And so far, they call it the grip case, and I was like, yeah, whatever. It's super grippy and really, really, really nice in the hand. So I'm extremely
Looks
impressed.
massive.
Actually.
It looks massive.
I mean, it's a wide angle lens. I don't know. Like the 2XL, yeah, it's like the exact same size basically as the 2XL.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not a big case person, but I don't know. It just felt flimsy without a case.
Yeah, I feel like you want a case. If you're going to make it last a few years, I think a case.
That's
goes
the
in.
idea.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll report back.
Wes can attest that the screen protector won't necessarily guarantee you won't get cracked, though.
Oh, well, this time I didn't have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I meant to do it. I just
unproven
was
then.
lazy.
Still
Yeah.
unproven. Oh, okay.
Oh, so you're saying I need a screen protector then?
I was pretty pleased. I didn't not put it on out of any sort of satisfaction issue with it when I had it on the previous version.
Right.
So I would
Did the previous one crack?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, that one
Just got weird, right?
yeah, just stopped. The screen stopped working.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I've been thinking maybe
Wait.
I should do that then.
So I have a question for you guys. What, like, I literally last night at 1 a.m. got giraffing on this thing, which was extremally easy. The
I know.
longest part was
So
downloading the
smooth.
gosh darn
It's
image.
so stupid
It's
easy.
amazing.
Yeah.
So where should I start? What should I dive into? You think?
So are you F-droiding? How are you doing your software installs?
Well, I've been doing
APKs
F-Droid
from
for the last
GitHub.
couple of years. I can do that. Yeah.
You're not
Pentium
using-
is another
Or that
option.
what's that other one? That
The Neo.
yeah,
store,
Neo
I
Store.
think, maybe?
Neo Store.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
All of those.
Yeah.
Do I have to choose?
No, you don't. I've actually uninstalled a couple of F-Droid apps and switched over to the Play Store apps simply because, and I've had a conversation with several developers about this too. It just takes them longer to get the apps published
Yeah,
on Play.
that's true.
And sometimes
Or
I
you
want,
mean on F-Droid?
yes.
The Play has the more updated
Thank you.
version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so not that Play is super fast, but it's just faster than F-Droid.
Yeah. And some things it doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
feel like more like the open sourcey sort of just like utility apps, like I don't care.
Right.
But for things where it's like a protocol and compatibility or features
Right.
or
That's-
security.
Yep. Yep. So there's been a couple of things like image that I've gone back to the Play app versions. So that way I can update my server and not have it break and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's not too bad. Well, that's an exciting, start of a new adventure, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
curious
glad to
what you're
join the
doing.
club.
You should play around with the backup feature in the system settings
Oh.
that Graphene has.
Yeah. I played with the Lineage version a couple of months ago and had a fairly good experience. So, but this is a new updated edition of that. So I'm curious to dig into it.
How are you going to move your simplex?
Yeah. That's a really good
I'm
question.
going to send you a message right now. I'm sure there's an easy way to do it, right? But
I don't know.
Oh, I don't
Can-
think
I
I
mean,
backed my old one up.
I'm going to see if you can move this to your new phone. So this message is going to your old phone. I want to see if you can move it to your new phone. I know there's a database backup. There you go. There's your challenge. I've sent you a message on SimpleX. See if you can migrate that to your new phone from your old phone.
I mean, that's a bit of the challenge with phone migrations, I found.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The last time I did it, I used, which was under like emergency circumstances. It was the day before I was leaving on a European trip. So, but I used one of Wes's favorite tools, Screen Copy or Screen Copy.
Yeah, right.
And it allows you to see your Android screen on your computer and interact with it. And that just like
Oh, yeah.
sped up the entire process.
Oh, yeah.
You can copy and paste back and forth like passwords and use the keyboard and stuff like that. That was really, really nice. But still, you kind of have to dive into every single application, do backups like in
Yeah.
their own
They all
unique
store it in their
way
own
and go
place.
find
Yep.
yeah, it's just clumsy.
I know.
It's just embarrassing. And some of the backup tools pick up some of that, but never all of it. So it's clumsy. It's embarrassing.
Yes. And the situation is not much better with the commercial solutions that take an image and put it up on the servers of some company. Yeah. It's not really that.
Right. They get privileged access. They get to set up things and however they
It's not great, Wes. All right, Brent, are you ready to record the rest of the show?
How many shows are we doing today?
3.
We don't have a pre-show. Damn it. Oh, I swore I wouldn't let this happen again. And yet, it happens again. You've ever noticed it happens the most on the weeks where, like, almost anything we've been doing on air could have been the pre-show?
Uh-huh. Yeah. How many pre-shows did we just go through? We really need
That's
a
how
way
it
to,
goes.
pluck from that and just,
I know. I know.
upgrade it.
Well, we have a dedicated section in the doc. They just need to move down a couple of lines. And then,
No, he's thinking more like, once we record it, like, hey, we could have used that as the pre-show and just, like, hit something, and it just chops it. But it'd be nice if it was multi-track. It'd be nice if it was.
We're just going to have to start recording the whole thing.
Yeah. Just burn that disk space. I got nothing.
Uh-huh.
You got anything pre-show, Brent? You got anything for the pre-show?
No, I have a thing, but it's kind of long. It's too long for that.
It's too long.
Oh, the fish shell's almost done porting to rust. That's not really pre-show, but I'm excited to see it.
Will they call it the crab shell after that?
That would be good. That would be pretty good.
We plan on not doing. Oh no, wait. We won't be changing the name or the mascot.
What?
But Turbofish.
A turbofish, huh? Well, I got nothing. I'm checking. We got nothing for the pre-show. I hate it when we do this, boys.
Yeah, I know.
It's just so easy to forget about the pre-show.
Is it even part
Light
of the
wants
show?
us to talk about the Steam Deck.
What about the Steam Deck?
Oh, they got the new OLED situation going on.
Yeah, that's a pre-show.
Is that really pre-show worthy? Other than the fact that it apparently is the best gaming appliance that's been released in years?
I love it. I mean, I love mine.
Oh, yes. I hate this.
No, I love it.
It is revolting.
No, it's great. I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's great.
Well, I've got it's more of a pick. It's a daily murder mystery generator.
Do we have a pick?
No.
How did this happen?
We got focused on the other
You
stuff that
guys
we
have
prepared.
Nix too much on the brain. You have Nix
No.
too much on the brain. It's your Nix.
It's
Your
the double.
Nixingness.
It's the double guesting. And we put all our effort into the double guesting and kind of forgot about.
There are so many boosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah,
You know,
I've
it's
been
because we
doing
put the
some
picks
updated
after the
boosts.
boost. That's the problem.
There's what?
We've been getting some more like some
Oh.
live boosts and stuff, which I've been trying to catch.
Oh, thanks everybody. Yeah, Jesus, look at that. Friar Tech, you baller.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you, Dan. Also a baller. All right. All right. Okay. All right.
Coming in hot with the boost.
I love our clips.
All right. I think we'll just skip the pre-show.
Keeping it tight.
That's
this
what it
week.
takes.
It's funny though because like our pre-show for the members is 1, 2, 3, 4 different topics, and one of the topics has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sub.
We swear we're not trying to pressure you to get a membership.
Yeah, trying to get you that value from that membership. That's what we're trying to do. All right.
The problem, though, with that approach is that only the members will hear us having just said that. Right?
I know. That is actually a bit of an issue. We could probably, like, if we ever, oh my God. Somebody should remember this because I will absolutely forget this, but this is going to work.
Okay.
Quick, someone write it.
If we ever had to like miss a week, we could just take a bunch of cuts from
like a supercut.
Yeah, and not everything, but a couple of our spicier convos or something, and release it as a damn episode. I'll tell you what, never before released footage.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, who's going to go
Or I
through
wonder if we
them?
should like drop a live one for non-numbered occasionally, just to sort of tease here's what you
yeah,
can't.
I've thought
have.
about that too. Yeah, it's no editor Sunday or something, and it's just a live version. Thing is, it's like all of a sudden,
Wasn't that last week?
it's like who the hell wants a 3-hour show though?
Right, yeah.
Only a maniac does. Only a maniac. All right, Brentley, get your damn recorder up, would you? Quit screwing
Okay.
around.
Make sure to
Well,
say
I don't know. I had the pre-show recorder up. I had to
Okay,
switch.
good. All right, are you ready to record over there?
Yes, sir.
Me.
What,
I like
was I
those
supposed
Golden
to go
Dragons
on that?
pitching us on pre-shows here. That's fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just a
I'll get connected and check them out. I gotta get. I'm not connected yet. Let me get.
I love Sundays.
He's right. We could do it.
Hey, did you hear Fish is moving to Rust?
Yeah, we could do that. We could try it. We could try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's not a bad. I mean, I went to the trouble of getting all dialed in. We could try it. All right, Brent. So you're gonna do the do the crab line. Wes will do the hey, did you hear? In fact, why don't we start with the horns? We'll start with the horns,
sure.
and then you can say hey, did you hear? All right. Okay, Brent. Here we go.
What am I doing?
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I'm not paying attention. Well, I had the recorder up. It takes a lot of my mental capacity, and now you're asking me to switch.
You're gonna do your punchline again about. Are they gonna change the? What is it?
Yeah, they're gonna call it crab. Will they call it?
Oh,
crab?
I can. Oh, yeah. Okay,
Will they call it crab? Yeah, when
Yeah,
you're
I
done.
can do that.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you ready to record?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, record. Hello, Drew. Let's get a little room cap in here, just so we have that. So jump in at 4, and then we'll do room cap. Just because I like doing it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Nicely done. All right. Room cap time starting now. Yeah, sure. That's good. I really don't know. It's probably good.
It's not the distro. It's how you use it.
Okay. Hi, Drew. We're going to try a pre-show, Drew, and if it doesn't work, you don't have to use it. Okay? All right.
We cede to your taste.
Yes, exactly. All right. In 3, 2.
Hey, did you hear the good news? Fish, our beloved shell, is finally making the move to Rust.
Okay, but are they going to change the name to Crab Shell then?
Hello, friends, and welcome back to your weekly Linux talk show. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
And my name is Brent.
Hello, gentlemen. Well, we really have a banger of a show today. We have 2 special guests joining us. One to celebrate a major milestone, PipeWire 1.0, and give us the inside scoop, and the other to announce a very important first for the Nix community. And then we'll round it out with some picks, some boosts, and more. Supposed picks. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But before we go any further, I want to say good morning to our friends over at Tailscale. Tailscale is a mesh VPN you can get going in just minutes, protected by Waga. Our buddy Alex just did a new video over on the Tailscale channel, too, talking about how you can get it going real quick. It's great. We love it. It'll change your networking game. I got no more inbound ports on any of my firewalls anywhere.
You got a lot harder to hack after that.
Yep. So go say good morning, support the show, and try it for free on 100 devices when you go to tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged. And, of course, a big, hearty, time-appropriate greetings to our virtual lug. Hello, Mumble Room.
Hello, Chris. Hey, Brandon.
Aloha.
Hello, Wes.
That's a good-looking group.
Nice to see you.
Hello, and shout out to everybody up there in the quiet listening, too. It's very nice to have you all along for an exciting episode. A couple of things I want to cover. Of course, the Tuxies voting continues for a little bit longer. Please go cast your vote at tuxies.party and nominate your favorite projects, using that term loosely here for 2023. We're doing pretty good on responses so far.
1,849 as we record. What do you think? Can we break 2K? I think we might need to if we want to have the sort of statistical authority we're going for with the Tuxies.
We could use your help. Tuxies.party. It'll take you like 2-3 minutes. And then we also have a special form if you missed. Nope, not if you. And then we also have a special forum there you can follow if we miss something and you want to get on our radar for a future Tuxies or maybe even a special shout out on that upcoming episode. We'll put links to all of that in the show notes at linuxunplugged.com/538.
538.
Wow. I can almost...
550. It's coming up.
Yeah. You smell that?
Making me sweat a little.
All right. So some pretty exciting news came out this week. The very first NixCon North America has been announced, and we are joined by a very special guest. Okay, so we'll put the chat with Zach. If you're watching on the commercial streams, Zach joined us earlier today. Zach Mitchell, he's an engineer at Phlox. He's part of the Nix documentation team, and he's helping program the event for the very first NixCon North America that's taking place alongside Scale. We'll have details in our show notes with the published episode, but it's March 14th and the 15th at Pasadena, and we're going to be there. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. That's what we're going to talk about as we come back. I wasn't kidding when I said we're excited about this, and we're going to... Where are we? How do I want to broach this even? I'm a little unsure of how to even bring it up.
Trying to figure out viable routes to scale.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't kidding when I said we're all pretty excited, and we've been discussing viable...
Larble?
Mr. Larble?
Yeah.
I wasn't kidding when I said we're all excited about Scale, and we've kind of been discussing viable routes on how to get to Scale. It's going to be in March of 2024, and I expect ad revenue to be even less. So I don't think JB can do it at cost like we might have in years past. So we're going to try to reach some milestones and kind of scale our scale coverage. we're going to go one way or another.
We have to at this point.
We've had some great boosts, and those boosts have appreciated in value a bit, and so we can take some of that, and we can probably just get down there with no support. I would imagine there's going to be a way we can put gas in a car, bomb down there, spend a day down there, and bomb back. We'll be exhausted. But if we could get support from the audience, and this is going to be a big one, because I've done the math on gas for a small car, hotels staying down there possibly, and then an Airbnb that would fit Brent, Wes, and I, Alex potentially, maybe another crew member, and also our production gear. It's about a $3,000 cost all in. California's an expensive place. That's around 8 million sats. That's a big lift, and it's a very ambitious goal. But we'll scale our coverage. Ultimately, what I'd love if we can raise the full $3,000, and we'll also have a link in the notes to do it with Fiat, using our memberful platform with a one-time set-your-own-price donation, so you don't have to use sats. But if we can get to the full $3,000 milestone, then we'll bring the gear and we'll do a live show down there from California. Hopefully from scale if we can, but definitely from down there. And we'll kind of make it a special event. We've got a special live stream that we can use, and there's a lot of things behind the scenes we've been working on that we could actually kind of take advantage of for this. So it could make a big production out of it if the support scales. But either way, we're going to try to make it because, like we said earlier, this is a ground zero event. We really want to be there for this first one. And we were on the fence just because scale is great, but we just weren't quite sure if we could make it work.
I mean, there's Texas Linux Fest, whatever's going to happen with Linux Fest Northwest. There's a lot of events around there. It's a lot to plan and a lot to pay for.
Yeah. But I think we got to make it if we can. So what I'm asking is if you would like to help support our production and getting down there, we would love that. Either through a boost by boosting the show to try to get us to that 8 million sat milestone, or by becoming a member with a set your own price, or by a one-time donation through the link we'll have in the show notes. This is something that traditionally, I suppose, in an advertising boom economy, we could probably turn to a sponsor and say, hey, could you help us cover a $3,000 event? And then we'd say, hey, this event's been brought to you by Ting. You know, Ting does this. We'd tell you about Ting as we talk about the event. And that would pay for it. And then we wouldn't even have to come to you with an ask, which is probably my preference because I don't like coming out with an ask a lot. But there's also an argument to be made that perhaps we should build the pipeline to do this without having to go to a commercial interest and make it commercially viable for them every time we want to go cover a small-scale Linux community event.
One thing that's kind of neat about if you do choose to support with boosts is you might be able to also maybe suggest to us like stuff you want to see as part of our coverage of the event.
Yeah, that'd be really great. Or things we could do in California, or things you didn't like from previous event coverage coverage we've done, because we're always trying to refine that, get that better. It is. So it's an 8 million sat bounty we're trying to get to. Of course, we'll read out your messages as well and give you a shout out. Or there's the Fiat Fund link in the show notes if you want to do a one-time. Or you could also consider becoming a member. That kind of grays the line because it's not exactly lumped in with this, which these funds will be used implicitly for this trip. But it would help with the overall revenue to help cover costs. So that's ultimately perhaps not a bad way to go either, is the membership.
I would also say, I'm sure we're going to have a meetup of some sort, of some description, in some location at some point. So keep an eye out for details about that coming up in the next couple months here.
Yeah, I suppose I hadn't gotten that far, but you're right. That is what comes next, right? Is a meetup. Yeah. That'd be another argument for being able to stay for more than a couple of days, right?
Yeah, more flexibility to hang out with the audience.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to stay long enough to record LUP and maybe even coder down there, do meetups, go to the NixCon, go to Scale. It's not a small task, and $3,000 is just covering gas and boarding. It doesn't cover
essentials.
Yeah. We're still paying for everything else, but it's just we can. That's something that seems manageable, and it's just at least we could do. So if you'd like,
do they have an underground tour that we can take?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of tourist things we could do. So it's a big ask, but this is a pretty important moment, I think, for the Nix community. And I think it's also really great to get JB back at Scale. So please boost in with as much as you would like, or click the links in the show notes if you'd like to support. And if it's not your bag or you just don't care about Scale, totally understand that too. We're going to make it work however we can. We're going to scale to scale. That's our plan. Linode.com/unplugged. Head on over there. Support the show. Get a $100 credit. Kick the tires. I have to say, little side note, midsummer-ish, I set up a Minecraft server on Linode again. It's been a while since I've done that, and they've got those one-click options.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always feel like a little sketch using that because it's like, how did they build it? How maintainable is it? What happens when I need to do updates or modifications?
Are you going to audit it before you run it in prod?
It's sweet. It's so not only is it really easy to understand how it's set up, like everything's just in my home folder, but there's also like this little game server script that gives you essentially bash number prompts to like, do you want to install the latest server version? What do you want to do? So assuming you're not doing anything too radical, like you want to do backups or restore and all, it's all in there. And it just walks you through keeping it up to date and all that kind of stuff, and like accessing the console to give people op status.
That's perfect, especially for something where you don't really touch it that often. You come back to it because you need to make a quick tweak for the kids or whatever.
And they wire it all up, I presume with systemd, to boot with the system, so the server starts when the Linode starts. It's nice. Like having like set it up, completely forgot how it worked, and then come back to it trying to do some more stuff. I was pleasantly surprised.
That's nice.
So, it's good for personal stuff. It's good for enterprise stuff. It's a great way to support the show and get $100. Linode.com/unplugged. Guess we didn't really prep for this, but I think you should take this. So today as we record, PipeWire 1.0 is out. It's very exciting to see this milestone, and joining us to talk about it, it's fucking Wim Taymans, the lead developer.
Yeah. Taymans, I think. Right?
Taymans, yes, thank you. And then, actually, for your info, Brent, this is like a 11-minute clip.
Do I get another sound clip or sound?
Yeah, you want to? Yeah, I can bring it. Yeah, sure. Here we go.
It's a happy day here at the Linux Unplugged corporate headquarters because as we record, PipeWire 1.0, the El Presidente release, has dropped. And to celebrate this monumentous occasion, we're lucky enough to be joined by none other than Wim Taymans.
Wim, welcome back to the Unplugged program. I believe this is your third visit to the show. How have you been?
Very good, very busy. Good to be back.
I bet. Well, we're gathered here because PipeWire is about to hit a big milestone. I was doing some Wikipedia diving. They have you on there as kind of starting the very first, what would become PipeWire, were kind of in 2015. I don't know if that's accurate. Does that sound right?
And that sounds about right, yeah.
Wow.
It's been a while. 7 years.
Yeah. Fedora 34 became the first Linux distribution to ship PipeWire in April of 2021 by default. So we've been running on the 3.x series for quite a long time, and we're jumping to version 1.0, which comes out, I guess, pretty soon?
Yes, very soon. When you release your show, there will be 1.0.
That's a nice little treat.
I wonder if we could start. I'm just kind of curious. What is it about now and the changes and the status of the project that make it the right time to have a 1.0?
It's a good question. Well, first of all, people keep asking, why don't you have 1.0?
Right, so perceived public stability, that makes sense.
It's been in, pretty much every distribution as it is the default sound server these days. People are using it. They're happy with it. I hear that people are happy, so why not make a 1.0 release? So the idea was to just switch the version number at some arbitrary point. But I did have some goals in mind to be able to do that, which was scheduling as good as Jack, at least. And we managed to do that. So that was the switch for me to switch.
And by scheduling, is that another way to say like the latency that the pro applications expect from Jack?
Yeah, so Jack has a very specific way of using the ALSA devices. So with interrupts and all of that, and linking the devices together. So it was a matter of trying to implement that and then get the same latency as Jack has, and then try to integrate it in a way that sort of makes sense for PipeWire. I thought it was going to take a lot longer to get it working, but it was doable.
Was that driven by demand? Were there folks out there who wanted to switch to PipeWire, but were kind of waiting for it to really fully meet the capabilities of Jack before they were able to switch? I just ask because, shamefully, we're still using proper Jack in our studio to record, but switching to PipeWire is on our upcoming list of things to do.
I guess so. People people want to switch or want to try to switch. Yeah, I think that it was for some people a blocker. I think, or there still are blockers for people. There are still things that don't work quite the same as Jack. But it's a matter of fixing those up.
Do you have a release cadence? Do you have a excuse me? Do you have a release cadence kind of planned now that 1.0, whether it be a 1.1 in 6 months, or is it just kind of feature based?
I think we'll do a small bug report or small bug fixes on 0.1 releases, and then work our way up to a 1.1. Sure. I don't know if it makes sense to make an unstable branch first and then make that into a stable branch, something like GStreamer, like with critical bug fixes ported to the point branches. I don't know. It all sounds very complicated, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It's a brave new world. I kind of wanted to reflect a little bit on the adoption of PipeWire. I think it's been, kind of remarkable if you look at the adoption rate of other technologies that are kind of significant changes over time. And I was kind of attributing it in my mind to maybe 3 things, and I wanted you to reflect on this with me. Probably the API compatibility with Pulse Audio and Jack is a huge aspect to it. Pulse Audio might not have been universally loved at the time PipeWire was announced, but I wonder if you think another aspect that really accelerated PipeWire's adoption was it kind of went really well with Wayland and Flatpak adoption. Like they all just kind of went together.
It started out as the screen sharing for Wayland. It really only did that at some point using GStreamer elements. The .2 series was only that. So that was the first thing that got integrated. And then later on there was a rewrite and try to do audio stuff. But I think it's also a little bit more building on existing things. So it was built on for example, the IPC is based on Wayland with the proxies and the events and stuff. We had the Pulse Audio, the client APIs. We used the Jack and the Pulse Audio APIs. There was some experimentation of how this should be done. But in a sense, you have a clearer guide of what is supposed to work. And you have your existing applications. And if they work, you have success. So it's not like a big change like Wayland. We have to rewrite all applications. Everything needs to be redone.
You kind of got a clear goal that you're aiming for here, right? You don't have to design the whole new world. You just have to make the old world work with your new world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, and also because it's based on existing work, like for example, it's using the same scheduling like Jack. It can use the same protocol as Pulse Audio. It's more like a well-defined path to walk on.
So the goal isn't long-term to kind of unify all of it with a singular PipeWire API and kind of, because it seems in some perhaps perspectives, it looks like, well, it's kind of a mess because you've got ALSA in here, you got Pulse in here, you got Jack in here, and everybody's still writing all of that, but it's really PipeWire under the hood. And you could see an argument for we should clean all of this up and just make one PipeWire API.
So there is a one PipeWire API because the other ones are implemented with it. The only thing is that it's a bit like toolkits. So you have specific use cases like a generic API, like the one there is for PipeWire, is very generic, and it is perhaps not very user-friendly for people that want to do, like Pulse Audio kind of things. Or if you like more like a Jack, it's a synchronous API. It's more easy to use than an asynchronous API that PipeWire is. So it's kind of like, people don't really want one super API that does everything, but they want more like specific API tailored to what they're actually doing. And I think it's the same with GUI toolkits. You have different kind of models for writing GUIs. can't you just write one unifying toolkit for everything in the world? Probably not. Or like a game engine or something like that. There are different trade-offs to be made. Okay, under the hood, it's using maybe a common infrastructure. And I think that's very important to have. If you're having different APIs and different toolkits, that they all work together without blocking things. But unified API, I don't know exactly how that would work. I mean, if somebody can write a unified audio API, you can be a hero.
It also sounds like maybe the subject of an XKCD comic. So,
yeah, even if you make it, are they going to use it or still want something on their own? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So the official message from PipeWire is there isn't a universal PipeWire API, but we do not recommend to use that because it's very generic and low level, and you're better off using the existing APIs because it has all the documentation and everything. People know how to use it. I mean, the thing is a bit different for video because for cameras and screen sharing, there isn't really any API. So there you use the native PipeWire API. Again, not so very easy because it's very low level, but nobody has written a universal, Pulse Audio-like API for video capture.
One thing I'm curious about, now that PipeWire is, I think, pretty successful, it's out there, it's got a lot of deployments and users. Has there been any deployments or use cases that have, surprised the team, surprised you, things you didn't think PipeWire would be used for, or just cases where PipeWire really helped improve, the status quo?
Not yet, no. not particularly. It's been used in embedded devices, which wasn't. I mean, I guess you can expect these things to happen. But for example, it's used in cameras now to capture audio, like security cameras. There's people working on guitar effects pedals.
Do you know how large the automotive use case is at this point for it?
No, I do not. I'm not particularly involved in that. I know there are some plans to move from Pulse Audio to PipeWire in some setups, but I have no details really.
Well, we're going to have one here. Another place where we've actually been using it with some success now, more recently, has been OBS, just to see all that come together. Our main streaming rig now is Wayland with OBS running on there, and PipeWire bringing in some of the capture and some of the audio stuff. It's really working very well now. So it feels like a bright future, and 1.0 is a great milestone, Wim. So congratulations to you and everybody's been working on it. And thank you for coming on and chatting with us about it. Kolide.com/unplugged, KOLIDE.com/unplugged. Head on over there, support the show, and check out the magic system they got. I tell you what, it's a force multiplier. If I would have had this back in the day, well, I might not be doing podcasting. Go check it out at Kolide.com/unplugged.
I take it you want me to take this one?
If you want to introduce it, I don't mind reading it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of long.
Now, Chris, pretty much every episode, we've gotten a little update on our little 32-bit challenge. Do you have one this week for us?
We have a big one this week, actually. Spazzy C has put together 2 identical laptops. He says, I sent them in the post Tuesday night. And it looks like they'll be here sometime this week as we record. We have 2 laptops with 2 power adapters. One of them, I think, is running with 4 gigs, and the other, like one of the slots went bad, so it might only be 2 gigs. That's clearly Wes's laptop.
All right. I'll take the challenge.
He says, I bought them in April of 2006 with 1 gig of RAM each, running Windows XP Media Center Edition. They're around $2,000 Canadian each, which was also the biggest single purchase of our IT department, tiny IT department. It was meant to start our laptop fleet for loaning out for trade shows and the like. We got good use out of them. Then, like most equipment, they replaced, and they've just been sitting on shelves. We needed the space back. So I was lucky enough to get to take them home. I upgraded them as best I could. They've been loaned out to some cousins who didn't have any devices for homeschooling when the pandemic hit. And now they're back. They've just been sitting quietly in the corner waiting for a use. So he sent them our way, and he tried them out with Debian as well.
Oh, pre-tested even. Okay.
Yep, to make sure they're actually functional and all that. So thank you, Spazzy C. We'll be keeping an eye out that. And we actually got so many really nice offers for sending us hardware, including some really cool server grade gear. But Spazzy C, just how perfect is it that we've got two essentially identical laptops that are 32-bit?
That's all we could ask for.
And Brent's got it's a laptop too that's 32-bit. In your brother's, I think that you're going to be able to use.
It's actually a friend of ours who asked me to pull some data off of it because they thought it was totally broken. And just by chance, I tried to do that with a quick little live boot up, and it complained it was the wrong architecture. And I was like, oh, this is exciting.
Good news.
Right. So I asked, I gave the data back, I pulled the data off. That was really easy once I got things going. But then I was like, can I keep this little laptop for a bit? And they were like, I haven't used it in 10 years. Like, you sure? So I've got my hardware secured.
Yeah, good. This is coming together. It's coming together. Also, we had an email from Squishy.io that I wanted to read because I thought maybe it might resonate with some listeners out there that are getting sick and tired of all the Nix talk. He says, this is going to be a bit cliche. I was going to write in about NixOS being too much. You guys are over the top with it, but I figured, what the heck? I got a Silverbox machine. I'll throw Nix on here before, I give these guys a hard time. He's like, it's mind-blowingly cool. And he writes this in all caps. NixOS is what I wanted from Silverblue, and I suspect the average Joe doesn't know it, but this is what anybody wants from an operating system, not just a desktop operating system. And he goes on to talk a bit about, the things he likes about it, being able to build VMs and things like that. He's like, you should give it a try out there if you're a listener who's been kind of annoyed by the Nix coverage. I like Silverblue, and I think Fedora's still great, but you should try giving it a go. He's thinking about moving primarily from Silverblue, or at least putting Nix on Silverblue now.
Oh, it's fun to get an update, just from migrations in the already immutable world. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I like that he was like, oh, I'm sick and tired of this. He's like, oh, now I get it. I thought that was pretty great. And then Brent, we had one from Binary. And then Brentley, we had one from Binary Creations on reliable systems.
Every once in a while in our Linux Unplugged feedback room on Matrix, we get some just amazing stuff in there. And I thought I'd pull this one. Binary says, regarding running a reliable system, I'd hazard a guess the best way to keep a system reliable is probably to follow some of the protocols that NASA uses for some of the Linux-based copter devices or space station bits. The other part of keeping a system reliable is probably also having redundant hardware where possible to enable backups and snapshots and all those good things. If I had to do it, I'd probably run something like Spiral Linux, which is a Debian-based system with ButterFS snapshots pre-configured via Snapper from Grub as well. Or run Debian and just configure all that myself. Guys, when I saw this, I thought, yeah, space is probably a good place to start for reliability. I mean, they've been doing updates, like 600 million kilometers away from the devices that they're working with. So we can learn a thing or two there. And luckily, we have learned some things with our JPL trip. So that's a good reminder. But Spiral Linux, this caught my attention.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Debian for the last several months. People keep challenging us to give it a spin. See what I did there? And I've always been a little bit hesitant because I didn't quite know how to approach it. But this pre-configuration that Spiral Linux is doing with ButterFS snapshots, rollbacks, that's always been what I've wanted on Ubuntu and Debian-based systems.
Yeah.
And what attracted me, if you remember, to OpenSUSE's Tumbleweed, all that's just kind of built in with Snapper. So this inspired me earlier this week, and I kind of dove in and thought I would do some experimentation and see if I can build this myself. So I didn't install Spiral Linux. I just thought, hey, I'm going to look at the tools that they're using and try to build something here. So I did. I did an install of Ubuntu on a machine that, my old X250. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was sitting on the shelf doing nothing for the last 2 years. So I figured at least I'd throw something at it. And so the projects that are under the hood here are grub-butterfs, which adds grub menu entries for your ButterFS snapshots, which is kind of cool. Another tool that we know well, Timeshift, which does system restores using either our snapshot, using either rsync or Btrfs file system, which is cool. But there's another tool called Timeshift Auto Snap Apt, and we'll link to all these so you don't have to try to remember what I'm saying. But this does what we're used to with NixOS, for instance, where whenever you're installing a new application or doing updates, it just does another snapshot for you. And I know that sounds simple to us who are used to some of these immutable systems and or something like Tumbleweed, but it's what I've wanted with Ubuntu-based systems. So I thought I would try all of this. And it was super fun to do, like one of those experiments you do on a Saturday. And it failed miserably. I didn't get it to work at all. But I really enjoyed it. I know I went through the whole process of like, yeah, I'm doing amazingly well. And I did some updates and saw the new entries and snapshots, and I was super jazzed. And then I went to reboot and just it ran FS prompt, and it didn't work. But I still totally enjoyed myself. So I would say,
okay,
dig into that if you want to learn a bit more about the tooling. But probably Spiral Linux is solving all this for you, so you should probably just go there. But I'll try again. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. So
yeah, there'll be some good links if you want to look at some of these tools. I like the idea of looking at what a distro is doing that's really unique and saying, okay, how can I apply this to my existing setup? The tool's out there. Just got to get them installed and configured. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
I'm sure it's me. If you guys have been following at all, it's me.
Thank you, everybody who went over to linuxunplugged.com/contact and sent in some feedback.
And now it is time for Le Boost.
Another great way to send in feedback and send a little value back to the show is, of course, the boost. And Deleted came in this week as our baller booster with 350,000 sats. Using Fountain to boost in and says, as you may have seen in Matrix, I've started my own at-home game for this 32-bit challenge. This is great.
Yeah, play along at home.
Yes, this
Brilliant.
is great. He continues, so far, failure has been everywhere. See, this is what I was worried about.
That's the theme this week. It's great.
I was worried we're going to spend a lot of time getting hardware working, which is why I really appreciate Spazzy got Debian on there, so then we at least know it's us.
Yes.
He says, when I first suggested this challenge, I was curious what distro JB would choose because Nix isn't available. It appears I was wrong in that assumption. I'd be shocked if you don't incorporate it somehow. Please don't let the Loch Ness Monster know I gave you a free fitty. That's so great. Thank you. Thank you, Deleted. I also love that you're playing along now that you've kicked this whole thing off, and I think we're getting really close. Very much looking forward to this. And I want to know, like, one of my personal goals is, can you make a usable system out of this today? You got to dial your expectations back on the whiz-bang features.
Right. But let's say you wanted it as a Notes PC, something simple you're not going crazy with.
Because I feel like that changes the argument around supporting 32-bit, depending on which direction that goes.
Can we make some predictions? Like on, I don't know how close we are to getting this going, but it feels close. So I feel like we should start making predictions, or at least some rule sets.
All right, give me one. What you got a prediction? Like, sounds like you must have one.
Well, I'm a little further ahead on this one. So I think last time we talked about this, we were going to do a 1-week test, right? See if we can use this device maybe as close to our primary device for about a week.
Right.
I think that's still a good goal.
Yeah.
I predict that you guys are going to have some hardware issues.
Oh, okay.
I think right? it's still tested, but
not you, though.
I know Wes.
Not you.
Well, I already have a little bit of time on mine, so.
He's pre-gaming this.
I know, he's pre-gaming.
But because I feel like you might throw something at it that wasn't tested yet.
That's very likely.
That hardware, I think, has been way more used than what I've got in my hands. It's got quite a history there.
Does sound like it.
I wonder if you might run into something.
Yeah, like we're getting the car rental car.
It boots up once, never again.
Yeah, but I'm here for it. I'm here for the challenge. I think it's going to be great.
Friar Tech boosts in from the podcast index with 100,000 sats.
Coming in hot with the boost.
I've been a happy Arch Linux user now for 5 years, but have been loving the deep dive into NixOS. probably going to replace my servers and my workplace desktop OS with Nix in 2024. But of course, I'm still behind you guys on my learning of it. What I'm not behind on, though, my ham radio journey.
Oh, sadly true.
Just recently passed my exam for upgrading my technician license to my general license, which opens up all the frequency bands to me. Now to spend some more money on equipment. Just wanted to give you all an update and just saying, loving the journey.
FriarTech, thank you for that very generous boost. We're going to put that towards our scale bounty. And you absolutely are 100% valid in jabbing us about our ham radio.
Yes.
It is one of those things like, yes, we want to do it. I'm still thinking software-defined radio with a device hanging off my laptop is probably more of my entry point. But we'll let you know.
Maybe 2024 is the year of the ham for us.
Took us 2 years to get around to Nix.
Yeah.
So maybe. Thank you for the boost.
Jono, or Distro Stew, came in with 2 boosts totaling 94,707. Chris, you got a sound clip for that?
Boy, I don't know. First of all, Distro Stew, that's a winner.
Yeah.
God, that's one of those where you think, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Because it's a play on Disco Stew. God, that feels really good. That's good. I
am programmed in multiple techniques.
Well done, Jono. Well done.
As a follow-up to my boost some weeks back, SyncThing is a Swiss Army knife. I'm regularly finding new ways to use it to sync up photos from my phone and getting them available on my desktop right away. Obsidian Notes, the whole shebang. If you're worried, though, about managing links, there's very mature link managers. GNOStew comes to mind, but they're generally overcomplicated for my setup. You can always make a little bash script if you'd like. Of course, though, I use Nix now since you guys would not shut up about it. All my symlinks are automated in the config, so no need for creating them manually.
Distro Stew, I want to +1 your SyncThing real quick. I was using it these last couple of days. I've created on my now Jellyfin server again, an ambience folder. And it's just like those like long 10-hour YouTube videos of stuff. And they'll be like the whole bunch just came out for the holidays.
Of course, yeah. Different mixes of classic music or just background sounds.
Yep. Star Trek ones, let's be honest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like 4+ gig files. And if you're on an LTE connection or you're on Starlink, it's gonna fluctuate a lot. It's gonna take forever to download. So I log into my Linode where I have SyncThing running, and I download it using YouTube DLP in like 10 seconds because they have super great internet. And then I just feed it back to the RV with SyncThing, just trickle feed it, and it just comes in nice and smooth. It never really impacts the internet connection. And then, a few hours later, boom, there it is on my Jellyfin server.
It's so great too. Like SyncThing is good now and has been consistently good for a long time now.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, they've really stuck with it.
The Distro Stew continues here with a bit of a PSA, but first says, happy to double boost. I've been listening since the beginning of the Linux Action Show.
Hey-o! Thank you.
Hey, Duplicati is super flexible and easy to administer. I've run it on all my family's machines. When something goes wrong, I can easily fix it remotely since it has a web interface. Years ago, I started writing some automations to test restores. Then I found out that by default, after a backup is completed, some files are selected for verification on the remote backend. Digging into this assuaged my fears. Side note, every 6 months I spend about 10 minutes doing a manual check on things on my network. And one of them involves restoring some random files from my backups to see if those work. Also, add my boost together to find me.
Oh, Distro Stew, I appreciate your boots on the ground report on Duplicati because it's what I use presently for my backups. Like my image uploads, I use Duplicati and all my configs and application data is all going offsite using Duplicati right now. Boy, you're really looking. Nicely done, sir. But the reason why I'm kind of hesitant to recommend it is I have heard some people sometimes have a hard time restoring. You got to get the entire application up and running again. But I really like hearing reports of how it's worked for people because it's what I'm using. So I'm always a little trepidatious when I hear people had trouble restoring. So it sounds like you have done some testing around that, and it's good to hear. I should do more testing myself.
But this default gets me thinking, like it says, after a backup is completed, some files are selected for verification on the remote backend. But shouldn't it be all files? Shouldn't every single file be checked to make sure that it's the right thing that you're expecting? Just to make sure network issues and stuff aren't affecting things.
Can you every time? If you've got terabytes of files and it's going to take another week to verify that, and then you're going to start another back. That's
because each verification is another network call, and if it's in like an encrypted volume, that's tricky.
Can you do like local checksums or something? I don't know. It just feels like best case. That's what would be happening. No,
I actually would like to put a call out for more feedback on duplicati from the audience. Did you manage to?
You got a little trapped in the map there, but I'm out now, and assuming that my boost script is accurate, which added this for me together already.
Oh, really cool.
It is 94707, which is a postal code in California near Berkeley.
Hello, California, Berkeley. Well, Distro Stu, you got to come say hi if we make it to scale. That would be really cool. Let's get a burger together.
Oh, I think it's you.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Dan Johansson comes in with 50,000 sats. Hey, Rich Lobster! I've chosen to run Arch on my home server. It's been running for almost a year at this point, and I've had 0 issues with it.
Nicely done.
As you can tell, we're Arch admin experts over here on the show. And
kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah, we recommend going about 364 days between updates.
For stability.
Yeah. He writes, it's been set up with ButterFS on root and the data drives. I love it on root because then I have snapshots I can roll back to if needed, although hasn't been needed yet. My update cadence is about once per week to keep the containers updated and the OS. So I update it every week with a reboot after the update just to make sure everything's running smooth. My home server has been Arch-based for at least 5 years at this point, and I feel like it's been more stable than when I was running Ubuntu or Debian. So I'm glad to hear the old Arch server survived the update. Great work. The boost amount is a little bit of help to get you to scale. Keep it up. Look at Dan on it already, Dan.
Very nice.
That was a boost that came in hot.
Coming in hot with the boost.
Thank you, Dan. Dan's always in the mumble too. Always great to have you in there.
I think that's a nice example too. Maybe an Arch server doesn't do as well if you don't have time to just occasionally poke on and do those updates. But if you do keep it up, then you skip ever having to do those big LTS jumps. The trade-off is if you just update it every week, which might work for some people.
It's taking your medicine like once a month, once a week in Dan's case versus every 3 years in this big lump sum where you're getting it all shot in your butt at once.
Nev Busin from Fountain with 45,895 sats.
Hello, Nev. Thank you, sir.
Boost!
This is a repeat zip code that you actually missed the hint on. Oh, whoops.
Who, us?
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like Nev's just telling us because clearly we couldn't get it right, so thank you. It's for Wapakoneta, Ohio. That's a fun one, yeah.
Wapakoneta. I think you did really good on that, Wes.
Maybe it's Wapakoneta. I don't know.
Wapakoneta.
Either way, it's fun to say.
Yeah.
And, wow, it's the birthplace of Neil Armstrong and the location of the Armstrong Air and Space Museum. Also, since you asked, I did mess around with my Nix config a little bit too much and would generate a huge amount of old generations on top of automatic daily updates that took place at 4 a.m. That was removed in an earlier commit. Anyways, I'm off the Nix train now because there's a few business apps I need to run that Nix can't. Good luck. Have fun.
That is pretty great. I'm looking at the Armstrong Air and Space Museum right now. Looks like they got camping and hotels nearby.
We'll have to pay it a visit someday.
Yeah, one day. One day, you never know. You never know.
Wes, does your map have bookmarks? That would be nice.
Good idea.
MixZP came in with 25,000 sats from Casamatic with not a real message, just saying keep up the great work.
BOOST.
Thank you.
We'll try.
We also got a row of ducks from Jordan Bravo. Thank you.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
Since my last boost didn't contain the link to my Nix config, here it is for you. Also, about keeping distros around as long as possible. I'll run the experiment for you. In my newly acquired work ThinkPad with Ubuntu 22.04, I'm not going to use any apt for anything. Rather, all software will be installed with the Nix package manager, and Flatpaks and DistroBox will be my escape hatches if necessary.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, that's a great combo. The DistroBox Flatpak combo Yeah. Oh man.
Let us know how it goes. Thanks for
Definitely. That is an experiment I feel like that should be followed up on. So Jordan,
but I feel that makes me nervous because I've not heard this setup used to keep the actual distribution up to date. So how is that going to work?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do some base updates, right? Like your core packages that got installed by the installer are going to have to be updated by apt.
But you don't have to worry about it so much because it's really just the core OS. The rest is all going to be elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a very simple problem set, theoretically. So Jordan's done something pretty cool with his Nix config there. You see how he's got it broken out for his laptop that runs Nix. Then he's got a MacBook M1 that he's also got Nix configured on. And then he's got another work laptop, and then he's got a shared config that he can use across multiple hosts. So like his basic stuff that he wants across all his systems. It's a really nice way to break it out like this. I've been trying to kind of wrap my noodle around how to manage this across 3 or 4 hosts for just personal workstations, and Jordan has got a great example here. We'll put a link to this in the show notes.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like a good and bad problem. With Nix is so flexible that you can kind of tackle these problems in a whole bunch of different ways. So it's neat to have folks that have already sort of tried out some of the various paths for us.
Yeah. I love putting these in the show notes too, because we had people message me with a question like, oh, go check the links here. You can see how they did it. You can figure it out.
I like the to-do list here as well. My NeoVim configuration is currently not managed by Nix. Plan to add that. And add Hyperland to the Linux hosts.
Yeah.
Sounds like some playing around is going there.
Soltros comes in with 20,000 sats using the index. He says, have you guys heard of Ladder? It's a self-hostable paywall bypass tool. I recently installed it on my server, and it's nice to be able to just bypass something from a news website that wants $15 to read an article. Yeah, this is something that I've always kind of chewed on because you can imagine when we're like looking at links and stuff for the show, I hit the paywall limits probably within a day or two.
Oh, yeah. And a fresh month rolls around and you get access and then you're like, oh,
It's tricky. And so I'm always like checking archive.org, or I'm looking to see if maybe went on the PipeWire so somebody else covered it and they just have a copy of it. Like I'm always doing all this stuff, and I'm constantly debating if I should bypass these or not because, obviously as a content creator, I have some...
We want to support the stuff that we rely on to help us with the show, of course.
But it's really something else, man. It's like, I wish I could just tell Abby... I wish I could just say in Albie, stream 50 sats every minute I'm reading this website. Just stream them 50 sats. And then when I'm done, you stop streaming them the sats. They get their value. They don't have to show me any ads or creepy pop-ups and things like that. I wish we lived in that world right now. Yeah, I'll see. It's like you're really seeing this cat and mouse game on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube is really cracking down on ad blockers because ad apocalypse is happening right now. It is ad winter. Revenue is down. That's how they pay the creators, is with a revenue share. And since they can't really get more advertisers and they can't get the advertisers to pay more, YouTube's only other choice is to get more desperate and try to raise the view rates up. So that's why they're going after ad blockers, is because they need more people on the platform to view the ads so that way they make more money from their existing ad base because they can't add to the existing ad base because of the adpocalypse. So they need to get more value out of the existing ads, and the way they do that is with an ad blocker. Just like the way these guys do this with a paywall on the websites for the news stuff. It's just a cat and mouse game, because then you just have like the uBlock folks or the ad block folks out there just make a tool that gets around that. It's just not going to work.
Around and around again. This Ladder looks neat though, right? Self-hosted. It's got an API. It's got a Docker container. You can, all kinds of neat stuff in here.
Yeah. You probably set one up.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but thank you for the boost. That's a good question, and I think it's a good conversation for us to have, and I'd like to hear other people listening out there. I'd like to hear their thoughts on that particular topic on the paywall bypass stuff. And Soltros, we appreciate your support.
Davrilin boosts in with 10,000 sats across 2 boosts from Castomatic.
Hey-o!
Regarding LTS, it's kind of hilarious to hear you describe the rationale behind using Debian without mentioning Debian at all.
Fair.
As I mentioned before, do a challenge where you upgrade a system from old stable to the recent one. All your issues have been solved by Debian for years already. And then in the follow-up boost, so in case you didn't know it, Debian still has a 32-bit distro.
I am kind of seriously thinking that's the way we go.
It might be a nice way to sort of mesh those together.
That's what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like, the call for us to give Debian some love has been strong recently. They're feeling a little left out. We got this hardware. We need a 32-bit distro. It's sort of like turkey and stuffing, just going together.
Noodles send in a boost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Satoshis. You know what that means, Chris?
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
We need more people to do a Spaceballs boost because we've got a 1-2 combo clip now. And I don't get to use it unless we get 2 of them in a row.
We'll come up with 3 if we need to. I'll always die on the hill that applications should not be using as much RAM as they do. Not only is the larger RAM usage a result of poor memory management of the developer, it's also a performance problem. With how fast processors are now, we should be recalculating results rather than caching them into RAM, since it's usually faster to calc them on access RAM. Let me redo that one. With how fast processors are now, we should be recalculating results rather than caching them into RAM, since it's usually faster to calculate them than to access RAM. Anyways, love the show.
That's a pretty respectable hill, actually. So we're asking the audience to send in the hills that they'll die on from like a tech argument standpoint. One of mine, I really shouldn't let this bother me. But guys, it just drives me crazy when regular users refer to their cellular signal as their Wi-Fi. I'm not normally this guy, but like I have to be like, actually what you're referring to as Wi-Fi is actually LTE from your cellular provider. And it's a very different thing. That's one of my hills. So if you've got a hill out there like Noodles and I do, please boost in and tell us what it is. Because I think there's important ones out there. What did you do? You got the chat. All right. Nice, actually. So just side note, not for in the show, but sometimes these are really hard to produce. So Wes got ChatGPT to give us various possible pronunciations, and now I just have to pick which one I think is most likely.
Or take a stab of your own. Either way.
That's good. I would have gone with green early, which is kind of close to.
Yeah.
Green early comes in with 4,500 sats using Fountain. He writes, "Take my Fountain sats for the cheese moy, please. But just stop saying these words. I had to chuckle through my whole 20-minute commute. It was funny hearing Chris when he tries to read names." Well, that's. I see now why you've got the challenging username there, Green Early. Or perhaps it's Green Earl? Green Early? You'll have to let us know. Thank you for the boost, though. That's making me smile.
Not the one comes in with 2,000 cents. With regards to the 32-bit challenge, have you thought of contacting Gil?
Probably Jill.
Yep. With regards to the 32-bit challenge, have you thought of contacting Jill from Destination Linux? She has thousands of old rigs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Get some old hardware tips from Jill because she's got like a library, an archive,
museum.
Yeah.
Ryan came in with a row of ducks from Castomatic. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Oh, we got another Spaceballs boost. Well, look at this, gentlemen. How exciting is this? Anonymous comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sats.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
See, it works better when they're back to back, so we'll have to catch that next time. But that's great. Using Podverse, the GPL cross-platform podcasting 2.0 app, Anonymous writes, "By the way, I use Arch. My install is actually from 2016. Updated every few months. The only issues I've had with it was outdated certs due to a very long, over a year without an update. I also had some conflicting manual changes done to /etc. I had an abandoned AUR package conflicting with a new library. So sometimes I can't see core packages of popular distros to break on its own, for that matter." What do you think he's trying to say there? I might just end it there. Okay, I'll just back up. And of course, I've had some abandoned AUR packages that have conflicted with new libraries. But all in all,
yeah, it sounds like it's working nicely.
If you think about it, from 2016, if you've had like 3 manual interventions,
not so bad,
that are kind of like less difficult than just doing an install, that's not really that bad. Yeah. Thank you, Anonymous, for the Spaceballs boost.
Oat boosts in with 10,000 cents.
Hey, Oat.
Also via Podverse. In episode 537, that was last episode, Chris asked which hills we were willing to die on.
Yeah, here we go.
I'll die on the hill of not using proprietary closed networks like Discord, Twitter, and GitHub in order to participate in Libra software development.
Hmm.
Owning our social networks and infrastructure is every bit as important as owning our desktops with Linux and our money with Bitcoin.
Yeah, there is a sovereignty aspect to that. The GitHub one seems really hard in modern society. I'm wondering, Oat, how you manage to avoid the GitHub one.
Yeah, you got any tips?
Like Twitter, yeah, that's probably good for you. Discord, I got an account, but I'm not really there much myself either. I'd rather focus on Matrix and things like that. But GitHub, like they got such a stranglehold on the community. I think that's a good hill, though. I really respect that. I don't know if I could participate at that level. I could probably get rid of X. I could probably get rid of Discord. I don't know about GitHub, though. I respect that. That's a hill, Oat, that I can respect. Thank you for sending that in. I'd like to hear other people's hills as well. We got some other great boosts that came in just below the 2,000 sat cutoff I'm reading through. Vectron, of course, has been sucked in by our NixOS propaganda. That's great to see. We had 21 total boosters this week across 23 boosts, and we stacked 766,587 sats. Wait, that's not now. Sorry, wrong one. And we stacked 766,587,000 sats.
Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
That poor llama. Thank you, everybody. That is really, really great to see. And if we can keep that momentum up, I'm excited about our potential for scale as well. And thank you, everybody who also just streams those sats. You know, we don't see a message from you, but we do see those sats streaming in. And I just cannot convey how freaking cool it is to bring up that dashboard and see folks Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whatever it is, listening in and seeing those sats come in as they listen. So it's very awesome, and we see you. If you'd like to boost in and support the show, podcast, I think it's podcast, is it right? Let me double check. Come on. Maybe I don't have the right URL. Does that load for you, podcast? There it goes. If you'd like to boost in, podcastapps.com is the place to go. Get a new podcast app that supports podcasting 2.0. A couple of features that I think you're really going to like. Near instant updates when episodes publish. Within about 90 seconds of one of our episodes getting published, it'll be in your Podcasting 2.0 app. If we go to scale, we have plans for live streams. There are going to be some really cool features that are going to be Podcasting 2.0. So live streams is something that's in those 2.0 apps that is really great. Plus, you get your links that are in there. You get your chapters. You get all kinds of other features like transcripts that lots of podcasts in that ecosystem now support. So that's newpodcastapps.com, and you also get value for value, and you can boost in there. But if you really love your podcast app and you want to keep it, I understand. Just get Alby, getalby.com. You can top that off using Strike now all around the world. It's available in 36 countries. If you're in the U.S., the Cash App's really great. You can also top it off directly inside Alby because it's on the Lightning Network, which is like SMTP for money. So anybody that just is on the Lightning Network, you can get sats and send it to Alby. Then head over to the Podcast Index or Podverse. We have a player like embedded on our website. Fountain also has the ability you can boost from the web. We'll put links to that in the show notes. It's really easy to find. And then you can send a message in and help us get to scale and support the show. And we really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It's a big part of what we do now. And as the ad winter approaches, being able to focus on this sort of pipeline that has no middleman, nobody in between, nobody that's going to screw anything up, nobody that's going to move the payment processor to Ireland and then have a bunch of payments get rejected without us having any say in the matter, like that kind of stuff just doesn't happen. And we really appreciate that about the Boost because it's completely self-hosted infrastructure running entirely on free software. And we got a pretty neat pick this week.
It's called Whisper. No, it doesn't have anything to do with the AI Whisper. This Whisper is a tool for PipeWire. Now, one of the cool things about PipeWire is, it can just be a normal background element of your Linux desktop, much like Pulse Audio was, but it also has a bunch of fancy professional audio features. But those can be a little bit hard to use. You might need to install something like, say, Helvum, which is a graphical patch bay for PipeWire. And this kind of exposes all the devices, that you have on your system, and you can draw lines between them to connect them. But if you're not used to that kind of interface, it can be a little complicated to get started with, especially if you've got multiple devices or multiple apps playing audio already with a bunch of connections.
Yeah, and if you're not trying to do anything complicated, you don't really need some of those tools.
Yeah, exactly. So Whisper tries to do more or less the same thing that Helvum does, but with a nice, clean, simple UI. Basically, one of the primary use cases and why it's named Whisper is, let's say you're getting ready to record something, do a presentation, or
go on a call,
or get on a podcast.
Yeah.
Whisper allows you to easily listen to your microphone through your speakers or headphones, which is useful for testing your mic or just for listening to your voice.
Seeing how it sounds.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a nice little way to just pipe your own audio into your own headphones or your speakers.
And it's packaged on FlatHub, so it's pretty easy to install, and you probably already have PipeWire, so there you go.
Whisper. And not to be confused with the transcription Whisper, but more like Whisper to hear yourself. And it really does have a really nice, clean UI. So that's a good pick. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, and it is available on the FlatHub as well. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. We hope you enjoyed hearing from both the PipeWire project and the first NixCon in North America. Please do remember, we want to try to get to 2,000 votes in those tuxies, too. Tuxies.party, just take you a couple of minutes. And then, if you, like me, switched to Graphene OS recently, I just hit my 1-year anniversary on Graphene OS. If you switched within the last few months or in that year, tell us how it's been going. Boost in or write us an email. How has your Graphene OS experience? Did you stick with it? Did you end up going back? Why or why not? We'd love to hear that feedback. Hitting that 1-year mark on the transition to Graphene OS. And Brent just got himself a Pixel 7, and he's going to be loading up with Graphene OS. We talked about that in the member special.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Brent's going to load up with Giraffing OS, but we'll give you a pass because it's your anniversary.
Right. No, you're right. Sorry. Yeah. We get into all of that in the members feed, which is also a nice little perk that we give to our members, unpluggedcore.com or jupiter.party to support the entire network. You get an ad-free version of the show, or I think probably the more popular option these days is to get the bootleg version. Right now, clocking in at 2 hours and 6 minutes of content. You get to hear when our guests join us and we chat with them and kind of get set up. You get to hear Brent's story about installing Graphene OS over the holiday weekend and all of that. Drafting, right? Sorry. So always a big thank you to our members as well and everybody who shares the show, participates in our community like the Mumble Room and our chat rooms too. We're really thankful for that. It's a really fantastic community out there. And one of the reasons we're really excited about getting down to scale is just to get to see folks too. I think that's everything though, right?
Well, I think that's the show.
I think so. So links to what we talked about today will be on our website, linuxunplugged.com or jupiterbroadcasting.com. And of course, you can always join us live Sundays at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern.
See you next week. Same bad time, same bad station.
You can always join that Mumble Room, chat with us in there, and get a low latency Opus feed.
Powered by free software.
Yeah, from top to bottom. Linux on the mixer, Linux on the computer, and of course it runs on Linux. There's always more though. I could always just go on and on, so I'll just leave it with this one simple thing. We're really thankful and appreciative that you listen. We're always really thankful when you share the show. We hope you had a great holiday weekend if you celebrate it, and we'll see you right back here next Tuesday, as in Sunday. Okay, so before we stop, do you want to do another take on the Wim intro?
Yeah, maybe. Might as well, right? Throw it in.
Yeah, like the lead dev of PipeWire or whatever. Did you find a bio for him?
That's what did we say? We've had him on before.
Good question. Brentley, are you muted? Yes.
Do we have a Brentley?
But yeah. So there's no post show, Drew. We're just going to take a second here and redo the intro for Mr. Wim to make him, piping up scale. I hope we got some good ones. We got some to shorten mine. 'Cause mine was garbage. I had a garbage one, I do admit.
You did inspire with it, though.
Did I? Good. That's the best I can hope for, really. How you feeling over there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let me scroll back up to the spot on the dock. Oh, yeah, right, okay. Let's see. All right, let's do it.
All right. Oh, we're ready when you are.
Yep.
Do you need a sound clip?
Oh yeah, I'll give you your intro. You ready? Okay, we're going 3, 2.
Well, it's a happy time here at Linux Unplugged corporate headquarters because as we record today, PipeWire 1.0, the El Presidente release, has just dropped. Now, we're big PipeWire users and advocates here, so we're really pleased to be joined by none other than Wim Taymans, founder and lead developer of PipeWire.
All right. Thank you, Drew. I'll stop.
He just nails it.
Yep, nailed it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I like that. I think that was a good call. That was a good retake. Okay, now we got to pick our title. You ready for title music? I'm going to end the show, and it's time to vote. All right. The votes have been released. Please go vote. We need a title. If you want to get in there, it's jupiterbroadcasting.com/matrix, and we're in the general channel. Butterfest with Brent. I can feel I have a new Nix box. I'm going to be setting up soon for home. And I think I'm going to use Butterfest on everything. What were you going to say there, Brentley?
I feel like those with Brent, Wes kind of started that trend, and now it just takes off. Yeah.
Bleeding edge, the smoothest transition. Okay, so that was mine. The smoothest transition in Linux history, which is way too long. But it is kind of true, right? It's like I can't think of a smoother one. All right, go boat, Chiron.
Hey, wait, what's this machine you're setting up? I want to know more about it.
I'm gonna have my own personal Nix Bitcoin node at home at some point.
Lovely.
Fun.
Yeah, I've just decided it's good to keep them separate. So.
Should try setting that up too.
Oh yeah, I should probably do it with you.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Linux's week of bangers.
Ooh, okay. I mean, it was some good stuff going on.
What is this song?
I like that they called it the El Presidente release. It's the voting music.
I think I've missed the last few votes then.
I don't know. I think we don't have a winner in here necessarily. What do you think?
Do you have any inspirational entries?
No.
Is it one of those weeks again?
Whims and Wins. I like that one.
Which one? Whims and Wins?
Yeah, a week of Whims and Wins. I think it was by Brent.
Oh, thanks.
It's not bad.
By the way, Chris, I have the same problems with Firefox too. It's really horrible.
Really?
When you have like 10 windows open, which is probable, and in these windows you have like multiple tabs, and all of a sudden, if you did not touch one of these open windows for a certain time, I think it does store it. It puts it somewhere just to make Firefox faster. Then you want to activate it, and then Firefox starts to be unresponsive, and then you have the 50% chance that it crashes and it's crashing down. But normally I can restore the session. I never had the problem that I was not able to restore the session. But it's sad, but I still love Firefox. So what's happening
is that Firefox is suspending, for tabs that you're not looking at for a long time, it suspends the processes.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah. The thing is, can one deactivate that suspend function?
Yes,
you can.
It's in the about config.
Yeah, then I will do that. Probably it would run better, and that would solve my problems. I don't.
So at least here on Fedora, I don't have those problems, and I suspect part of the reason why is threefold. So first, on Fedora, Firefox runs as a Wayland native process on Wayland environments rather than an X-Wayland process as it does on other distros. Second, we have cgroupify that actually partitions out each Firefox process into its own C group, so that they don't bloat up and blow out the system memory. It keeps it responsive. Chris, you remember a few years ago when you did that test where you intentionally tried to blow out the system RAM and it didn't work?
Yep.
This is part of that. Third, upstream Firefox's Linux support isn't as good as downstream in Fedora because there's a bunch of non-upstream patches, and it wouldn't surprise me if one of them had to deal with the fact that some of the memory allocation stuff isn't quite so smart upstream.
Interesting.
I will say I have a great many more windows and tabs open on a variety of systems, and things are working pretty well with me. I wonder if that has to do with something in my configuration file or something. But Chris, someone mentioned in the chat room giving a try to Firefox's ESR might be something you can give a spin.
Well, actually, I am using ASR because I don't use the Snap version on Ubuntu. I use the ASR version, which is still available as step file. So ASR has the same problems. As far as I know, I'm on the ASR version. I have to check that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, well, I tried to disable that suspend function. I guess that will help.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Byte shared exactly where you can find it there in the chat room.
It's really been
Oh,
frustrating.
Byte,
Yeah,
Byte, thank you, thanks. I will do that.
So I still don't know if we have our title, though. So you think it could be that, huh, Byte? I hear you deleted.
By the way, insofar as Chrome, one thing that you could actually do is tell Chrome to start as a Wayland application if you're in a Wayland environment.
I believe it is.
It's not default. It still isn't default.
Right. No, I believe I did think I changed it quite a while ago. I'm not sure if it's still doing it, but
No, the setting has changed a couple of times, and every time it changes, it resets back to the default. So Chrome is dumb that way. Don't worry about it. But like I know that on my Fedora Workstation laptop, which is the only one I have that runs GNOME, Chrome stutters a lot until you switch it to Wayland. Like an insane amount of stuttering, and sometimes it can even freeze up my whole computer. So,
jeez, okay.
So that Chrome has problems.
It's so frustrating because the browser is such
Fedora's
a critical app.
Chromium has a bunch of patches that try to relieve some of it, but it's not perfect either. And the other thing is like Firefox, Chromium has more. They care more about Linux than Mozilla does upstream. It's not by that much more. And yes, I'm fairly okay at stating Mozilla doesn't care a whole lot about Linux upstream. Like, I talk enough to the people that work on Firefox for Linux. It's pretty much that is the way it is. I also would suggest another browser for you to try out is Vivaldi. Not open source, of course. But
yeah, I should try it again.
It's not sketchy like Brave is.
Right.
And it doesn't make me feel as gorchy as some of the other options like Edge.
As what?
I'm sorry, what did you call
Gorchy?
Gorchy.
Tell us more.
Oh, look, it's a word I picked up when I was in middle school. I think it's related to the fact that I watched Kim Possible then.
Is it like
I'm
cringe? Is it like cringe?
Yeah, it's like cringe. It's like cringe. But I'm pretty sure I heard it from watching Disney TV shows when I was in middle school. So, look, my vernacular is weird. Get over it. But
you wouldn't like Neil when he's gorgy.
No, you wouldn't.
That's pretty good.
But it emits that feeling of kind of sick feeling and not particularly appealing either, right? Like
you got to go take a shower or something?
Yeah, something like that. We'll go with that. But I don't like Edge for a lot of different reasons. But if you want a non-open source Chromium derivative that you want to use, I would probably go with Vivaldi before I would pick Edge.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
I should give Vivaldi another go.
Yeah, me too.
There's also Opera, which also exists still.
Yeah.
I really want something that I can use on both my phone and the desktop.
So
Chris, all the kids are using
Vivaldi
that,
has an Android app.
Okay.
I think I have it installed on my phone. I use it every once in a while.
What was that, Brent?
Use that Opera gaming edition that my kids are using.
Yeah. I mean,
God.
everybody seems to like it.
Opera GX doesn't have a Linux port.
It's all the little things that nickel and dime me with the Windows stuff. Like he wants to install this mod or launcher thing that installs mods, but there's only a Windows build. Or he's got this gaming mouse, but if you want to change the click resolution and the capture resolution, and you want to change the RGB lights to one color or whatever, it only has a Windows app. It's like all these little things. It's like, oh God, jeez, everything's just still such a Windows world. Come on, Steam Deck, get out there and change that. You got things to change. All right. I think we're done.
Have you tried the Gorky browser?
Jesus. You already do. It's called Edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, like, in all seriousness, I think my recommendations would probably come down to Vivaldi.
Links?
Try Vivaldi if you want a Chromium-based browser, or try NixOS. I don't know. Does NixOS provide a Chromium build with some of the patches from Fedora and other distros that like make it less bad on Linux?
I'm not sure. I know they have several Chromium, I guess, different packages, but
This might be one of those things where you're just going to have to go look at all the flakes and figure out which one actually has all the right stuff. Because there is like somewhere between 30 to 150 different patches that are out of tree for Chromium that can make or break your Chromium experience on Linux.
Chris,
are those
are
those easy to find via the Fedora repo somewhere?
Yeah, so I'll drop a link to the Fedora dist-kit repo, which has all the packaging stuff.
Hell yeah.
Sweet, thank you.
Chris, your new laptop won't be able to run a browser anyway, so I think you'll feel right.
Yeah, what's E-Links?
Yeah.
One of the terminal ones?
Hey, man, back in the day.
Fun fact about Vivaldi is they have their Flatpak just this week.
Hey, that's perfect effing timing.
It's technically not supported by Vivaldi, but they did publish it. So there's some question marks by it, but probably it's a test release.
Anyway, I just threw a link into the chat.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Of the Fedora packaging sources, and you can see we don't have a small set of patches on it.
Yeah.
It basically sounds like it's a bit of a mess out there when it comes to Chromium.
Well, like, it really comes down to the fact that, like, the only reason Chromium works well on Linux is because it's also the basis for Chrome OS.
Oh, right.
Now, with Lacrosse, which is the Linux Chromium on top of Chrome OS, I think we're going to start seeing Chromium improve a little bit more as a Linux app.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, it's going to be a while. And, like, my understanding is that they only have 2 people working half to full time on Linux Chromium, and the rest of it is either part of the Chromos team or they're working on Windows Chromium with Microsoft.
Well, it'd be nice to see that shift. All right, I got some big lunch plans with Wes here, so
right.
We'll wrap it up there. We should get our 32-bit hardware this week.
That's exciting.
So we'll probably have an update next week. Mumble Room, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Sort of clearing out in there, but appreciate it.
A lot of fun to have you.
Yeah, take the rest of the day off,
Yeah,
okay?
it was nice. Yeah, we will go to bed soon.
Thank you. All right.
I'm going to go find food. I'm hungry.
Same. All right. Bye, guys.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody in the chat room that's been watching along. We're going to wrap up the commercial streams, and then we have a little special outro for our members. But thank you, everybody who watched there, too. Goodbye from the Unplugged team for this week. We'll be back next Sunday, though, at our regular time. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
By the way, you know, I got hairy legs.